I want to welcome back to the program. We've got Larry Walker is with us, calling in from Pope County with Citizens for a Better Pope County. Larry, how are you? It's good to talk to you again.
Hey, I'm good, Paul. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Now, hang on. I want to make sure. I mean, I said this last week when we talked. I want to just clear the air here. You are an attorney, but you are not an attorney that's working for this group, Citizens for a Better Pope County. Is that correct?
I'm not employed by Citizens for Better Pope County at all. I'm a volunteer as a citizen of Pope County, doing everything I can to help out. But I'm not paid on this thing. I don't get any funds for doing what I'm doing.
Okay, and
we're paying a guy named Travis Story out of Fayetteville to handle this case, and he's doing all the work on that.
Okay. Well, the reason I wanted to make that clear is because when you were soliciting funds, at the end of the interview, I know you wanted to make sure people. That you're not seeing any of that, income. You're here in a private capacity. I'm sure your law degree helps in this matter as well. So Larry, what can you tell us? Are there first of all, any new developments between Russellville, the mayor, the county judge, Judge Cross? Are there any new developments when it comes to the progress of a casino?
In Russellville, they formed the casino gaming committee that has been operating over the last couple of weeks now, and I believe that they had a meeting last night. I wasn't able to go to it, so I don't know what they resolved. I think they were trying to get their request for proposals put together, because I believe their goal is to have proposals in hand from the other casino operators by October the 7th, I believe is the date.
Okay, October 7th. Well, so that is not a long time away. What was there anything from our interview that we did last week? I know we talked about the news of the day. We talked about secret meetings. We talked about kind of the underhandedness of this all. But is there anything that you wanted to add to that interview?
I think out of that, after we talked last week, kind of the big news from not big news, I would say, but people I've talked to around here. They were just appreciative to hear that there's still a fight to be had. That this thing is not over. That the dialogue has been pushed out so hard and so heavy that people were starting to buy into that lie that it's over. And the people the majority of Polk County that doesn't want a casino here needed to hear that hey, it's not over. The fight's still going on. And we didn't want a casino here, and we don't have to have one under the Constitution.
I think what the citizens of Pope County may be going through right now is what many of our lawmakers go through when they go down to Little Rock. For example, you run a campaign, you're around your supporters, you promise to do X, Y, and Z, you get elected, but then you leave your home. And you go to a place that's not your home, and while you're down there, there's a lot of lobbyists that are asking you oftentimes to do the opposite day in and day out of what you just told people that you were going to do. And, some people fail immediately, but over time, you start to believe that, what, this is inevitable. I just need to play ball because what they want is going to happen regardless. I kind of feel like that's what the citizens of Pope County may be going through right now. Maybe there are some who were against this, but now that it's a thing, they say, well, you know what, maybe this needs to happen and we need to control it and we need to take the tax money.
You're exactly right. That's exactly what's going on. The lobbyists have inundated our town. They've inundated our officials. And like I said, you go to Little Rock, it can be a shock for newly elected folks that go down there and hear that stuff. But the hands that have been down there for a long time, they've heard all of that. Well, in Russellville, when you're sitting here on the court, you're sitting here as a city council, as a mayor or a county judge, you don't deal with those kind of lobbyists every day. And one thing that I've learned is these guys they're good. They know what they're doing. They've done it before. They know how to spin a story and make people believe it. I was listening just a little bit to your last segment and talking about, you made a statement about putting out a story and putting it out there, even if it has no basis, putting it out there repeatedly. I believe that came from World War II, and the Nazi regime, actually, that phrase from Adolf Hitler and his one of his associates, Goebbels, that said, if you tell a big lie long enough, loud enough, people will start to believe it. And that is exactly, we're feeling those effects that, oh, look at all the money that this can bring into your community. Oh, look at all the good that this can do. And if we feel like we're the exception to the rule and that we're going to beat the odds going down the street, so to speak, of our real estate values eventually dropping, of crime rates increasing, if we think we're going to beat those odds and we're not like the rest of the country when it comes to this stuff, we're crazy. But the lure of the money up front and what it can do is blinding to people. It's sad when you start looking even at political stances on this kind of stuff. That I've read some scholarly articles on casino gaming, and the vast majority of those reports show that casino gaming is the highest form of regressive taxation that there is. Regressive taxation means that you, instead of taxing the rich at a bigger scale, you're actually taxing the poor at a greater scale, because that's who it preys on, that's who it seeks after, and that's who we're hurting in doing that. And I just hate to see that happen to a community, to harm those that are most in need, and to seek after them. That to me, just it's predatory and it's wrong.
Have you read any articles about what happened in Tunica, Mississippi? I mean, is that community better off? Now that they had casinos.
I haven't looked a whole lot into it, but last I heard, I believe they shut down either one or two of those casinos back in December. That they're just no longer operational, and they left with massive facilities, and their poverty rates there are, just incredibly high. We had a lady that supported us at the start of this, and I'm sure she still does. She moved here from the Mississippi Valley area right in there. I don't know which county it was. She said that she lived there all her life. When she was born and raised, her county was the second poorest county in the United States. And she said the casinos they came into her county, and 20 years after those casinos were there, they were still rated as the second poorest county in the United States.
Wow.
And she said, I've moved now to Russellville after all this time. She said, now this is coming here, or it looks like it is. She said, we don't need it. I've seen what it does firsthand. It doesn't help a local community.
Yeah, and you're right about being a tax on the poor. That is what ends up happening. I'm just looking at a March 6, 2017 article, Why Casino-Driven Development is a Roll of the Dice for Communities. So at the very least, it's a gamble. No pun intended there. We're talking with Larry Walker, Citizens for a Better Pope County. Are there any churches in Pope County getting involved? Any pastors or religious leaders speaking out on this?
Yeah, absolutely. I am a pastor at a local church here. I'm one of the pastors on staff at First Baptist Church in Russellville, and we've taken a big stance on this. First Assembly here in town is also, and there's several of the missionary Baptist churches that have taken stances on that. We had a meeting on this. At one point, we had 26 churches that were represented in that meeting of local pastors that have been involved in this process. I started to say a couple now. I hate to name names because I don't want to leave somebody out of that, but we've had a large contingent of churches that have represented and helped in this process, and we're appreciative of them.
Well, I think that's certainly interesting and something to bring up here, that you do have people that say, you know what, we're not sure. And let me ask you this: I'm sure that's a mixed bag, but then there are two ways to go about this. If you're if you're a church and you're opposing this, number one, you could just go after the idea of gambling in general, or you could go after the what the casinos do to the community as a whole, and what another vice can do to get somebody and draw them away, from the flock, if you will. You know what I mean? And so which one do you think is the more compelling or effective argument?
I think both, and I think it goes to what it does to the community, just the casino gaming in general. As churches, we don't want to bring something else, allow something else in that is such a huge stumbling block for people. That just makes it so easy. That says, hey, it's just right here. Come and have it. And we love people. We want to help people. We help a lot of people. And we actually, we certainly don't want to have to catch them on the backside of this. We will, absolutely.
Right.
We're going to be there to do that. But man, if we can keep them, if we can keep that from being here and keep them from being involved in it, because there's inevitably people that aren't involved that will be involved now, just because it's easy and it's accessible.
Yeah.
And honestly, it has nothing to do necessarily with us on the Vice. Our message here and our goal here is the gospel of Jesus Christ, His love, His compassion, and we love everybody that's going to walk in that place. We love everybody that's going to walk out, just as Jesus does.
Yeah.
And we want Him to feel His love. We just hate to see people have to go. Sometimes it takes people going to the depths to have to come back, but we don't like seeing that.
I think that's a good attitude, and at this point, it's not a done deal yet, And so, if you have a say, why not organize and attempt to stop it? I mean, because we.
Well, and here's where I think on that, Paul, on that question right there. I went to law school. I'm a lawyer, so I believe in the rule of law as well. And what I believe is, you can look in Scripture, you can look in the Bible, you can see what it has to say about governments and their people. The interesting thing about our government that we have in the United States compared to, say, when the Bible was written and they had kings, they had monarchs, they had tyrants, they had somebody that ruled over people. But what we have in the United States is we have a government that's of the people, by the people, and for the people. So we are the people, and we govern our government. And so it's our job to take an active role in our government and to speak into our government. And that is not anti-biblical to do so. That's actually biblical. We are operating because that's how our government is designed. And if we don't speak into our government, if we don't take an active part in what our government is doing, we are actually neglecting our government and our role. And so we believe you got to take a stand in this. You've got to be able to speak out to these issues that are happening. And there's people that are out there and they'll claim, well, the government can't, or the churches can't do that. People in churches can't do that. And I'm sorry, just because I have a belief doesn't mean I leave my political aspect behind. The IRS doesn't say that. The government doesn't say that. It says that we're supposed to have a limited role in advocating candidates, but it never says anything about issues. Issues are 100% open for churches to speak to under the IRS and under the law. And so, we're going to do that because that's what we believe. And if we don't speak to the moral things that happen in this society today, we let it go to the wayside. And I believe we've neglected our duty as citizens and neglected our duty, biblical duties as well.
Yeah, and you know what? To your point here, hang on one second. I am trying to find the E's. There we go, ESV. I'm an ESV guy. To your point, when Paul writes to the Romans in chapter 13, let every person be subject to the governing authorities. For there is no authority except from God, and those that exist that have been instituted by God. Therefore, whoever resists the authorities resists what God has appointed, and those who resist will incur judgment. Now, in the context, you make a great point, Larry. In the context of American government, the authority here in America is the Constitution of the United States, which gives people freedom and the ability to vote and to advocate, and to shape what our government looks like, which was not the case back in those times. So submission to government authority is in the biblical context when America is concerned is participating in our government when we are given the freedom to do so.
Absolutely. And I think when, take the issue of the quorum court, for example, in that case, the people of Polk County created a law. They went out 5,500 signatures that came. It got voted in, 12,000 votes yes, 6,000 votes no. We wanted that local control, which Arkansas Constitution gives us that ability to have that local control. In this instance, we fabricated that law. It got put before the quorum court, and the quorum court just broke that law. They said, we're not going to do that. and they can't do that. And that's what these cases are about right now.
Yeah.
They can't just decide they want to break it. If they're going to break those laws, they become the dictators and the tyrants that we talk about, and that's not how our democracy is shaped. Our democracy is of the people, by the people, and for the people, and those quorum court officials have the obligation to live under that law just as we have to live under the law.
When are we going to hear something from the courts? Do you have any sort of ETA on that?
We have our hearing next Monday, 1:30 on the 30th.
Okay. Well, hey, let's. I'd love to get like an update or a briefing after that hearing. You can kind of tell us how it went, and so I'd love to get you back on the show next week, Larry, if that's okay.
That would be great.
Okay.
I'd love to do it.
Okay, all right. Larry Walker, everybody, Citizens for a Better Polk County. Larry, if they want to help out people across the state, is there a website or it's a Facebook page, right?
Yeah, they can go to our Facebook page, Citizens for a Better Polk County, and just shoot us a private message.
Okay.
We'll get back to them on how they can give to the cause.
All righty. Larry Walker, everybody.